What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Weekend Media Podcast. I am Jordan Wheeler. With me again, as always, is my co-host, Mr. BGT, Brian Garcia, Tirado. What is going on, dog?
A lot. It's about to be the craziest week of July, I believe. You're muted.
I know I'm muted. I do this so you can't hear me in the background. I don't need a bunch of whiny little dogs in the background of the podcast. I've already spilt my drink, knocked over my light. It looks like it's flashing right now. It is off to a magical start, but we're going to make it better. You know what? We have had some stuff go on since we last saw each other. You know what? It's weird not having you here by my side, man. I think I started to get accustomed to doing these with you.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the in-person, which we need to come up with a solution for that.
We do. So I already started looking for properties for you here in Houston because I know how much you love this area.
I absolutely hate it down there. I absolutely hate it down there. Houston's cool. I couldn't live there. Too much city for me.
So one thing that I will say is I was up in Dallas earlier this week. I'm not a big fan of Dallas. I love the people from Dallas. So if anybody is listening from Dallas, know that I don't hate you. I'm just not a big fan of Dallas itself. People talk about Houston traffic. I don't care for Dallas traffic, and I don't care for the drivers in Dallas. Although if you're listening, you guys are fantastic drivers. I think you guys are better than Houston drivers. But anyways, I digress. I hit the track again, dude, after a few months off, dude. It had to have at least been a couple of months since my last event, if I remember correctly. And it didn't go exactly as I wanted, but I'm going to say this right now. I'm just one of those people who's overly critical of myself because I still podiumed. I just didn't finish first. So I'm like, well, I lost.
At least you got podium, dude. I've been finishing in 32. But you gotta give me the deets on here. So this is so in Houston you're racing in SCCA,
right? Yeah, so as SCCA, we went out to, it's an old airfield that they've kind of made a track up out there. But one thing that I really like about this location is even though it's not, let's say it's not as well kept as some of the other tracks, what you do see out there is every time you go out there, it's a different layout, which I very much like, which keeps you on your toes. Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's built for speed, sometimes it's more technical. The other thing too is because I'm a little bit closer to the coast here, a lot of times the track is a little bit more moist than what it is in Austin or even farther north. So I have to deal with different tire pressures and tire compounds. I usually run out there in a snow tire. I forgo that this last time because it was a little bit dry in the morning. And if I can already pick up the dirt and toss it around and it's like granular, I know by the afternoon when the sun really comes out, we're going to be kicking up tons of dust. So that's not really a need for the snow tire out there. But what I did this time is first half of the day, I was out there just running, having fun, killing it. And I was leading, I want to say by like 4 or 5 seconds, looking back at the times now that they posted online. And then going into the afternoon, there were a bunch of people there. And I was like, hey, you know what? People want to do ride-alongs, hop in here with me. So I was hanging the back end out a little bit longer. I was hitting the berms to kick up dirt, having a little bit of fun with it. Ended up hitting 2 cones. Every cone that you hit adds 2 seconds to your time. Had 4. Yes, it's 2 seconds to your time. I had 4 seconds in penalties. I lost the race by 3 seconds. So the other thing too, which kind of hit me in the feels at this one, is I have never been beat in the SCCA here in Houston since I started. So it was a short season last season. They've hit about as many events as what they did last year already in this year. So 8 events total here in Houston, and I've never once lost. And normally I dominate. And that's nothing against the other drivers, but normally I'm winning by a good margin. So it was, again, one of those humbling things. It was cool to see somebody else get on top of the box. It was the same way when Cassandra beat me last year. But I'm hoping that it doesn't go the same route as what it did in Austin, where I just start losing all the time. But thankfully, there's no trees here in Houston that I could hit and take out my car.
Dude, is Cassandra competing against you down there in Houston? Is she going down there?
So she has been. I convinced her to come out because she actually lives closer, way closer to that track even than I do. And it's closer for both of us than it is going up to Austin. She is out of town based on what I've seen on her Instagram. She was actually up in Chicago recently because I sent her a message because she was up there looking at Sue the dinosaur. And I remember when I used to live up there when Sue actually was brought to the Field Museum there. She's a big dinosaur fan, apparently. So she's out vacationing with her kid, and she hasn't been at this last event, but she has been showing up. The one thing that I have noticed, though, when she comes out and competes here, although very competitive as always, it's not as close as what it is in Austin. And again, I brought this up in another podcast that a lot of the people that go there to that track are monsters. They're so good at it. But they've been doing that track for a few years, and it's always the same layout. Granted, the cones move a little bit here and there, but in general, it's the same layout. Coming here to Houston, it's just like I said earlier, different surfaces, different textures. It's all the different moisture levels in the ground. So it's tricky to learn each time. So she's learning that as well, but she's also, of course, going to advance as a driver like everybody else here has. And I don't want to say that I've had a hand in that, but I will say when you start getting better and better competition, it causes you to either become a better driver or you're going to just quit.
Yeah, you're just going to eat shit. Hey, real quick, Sue the T-Rex?
Yes, Sue the T-Rex.
Man, dude, as a little kid, my mom used to collect National Geographic magazines. They would come in like in all the issues, and there's an issue when they were talking about Sue, when you open it up, big dinosaur nerd myself, that's when I first learned about Sue, and she still has that magazine to this day.
That is awesome. I was actually telling Cassandra that I'm aging myself by saying this, but yeah. I remember when Sue came to the Field Museum. It was such a big deal back then. This was in the 90s. And I remember my biological mother came, picked my brother and I up, took us up there to the Field Museum for us to go and visit. I think my mom might have even came on a field trip as a chaperone, if I don't mistake that. Yeah, so we could go and see Sue, and it was such a cool experience. And I've been back and I've seen her a few times, having grown up not too far from that area, but I do remember that. I think she was dug up in 1990. I don't know exactly when she made it to the Field Museum, but it was early 90s.
Yeah, dude, that's so crazy, and it's really on topic with the next Jurassic Park coming out like in this week. You know what I mean? Yeah, huge dinosaur nerd here. Don't get me started.
Dude, I still remember when I went and saw the first Jurassic Park. That was such an amazing movie. It's crazy, too, to think that South Park later adapted the same technology that is used to make those dinosaurs to make their episodes. And then when Jurassic Park 2 came out, it was dude, it was such a fire hazard. When we went to the theater, they had people sitting on the floor in the aisles to see this movie on the premiere. Yeah, it was that wild. And then, the resurgence of the Chris Pratt movies, I think, brought new life to the Jurassic Park chain. And then now we'll see how it is with ScarJo joining the cast there as well.
First of all, I mean, one of the things about Jurassic Park that I've always loved is the vehicles. I actually have the Ford Explorers from the first movie. I have a model of the Fleetwood RV from Jurassic Park 2. And I got so much crap in my attic from when I was a kid. It's crazy. I'm just saving it for when Gabe gets older and he understands, because he's into dinosaurs too, but he's not old enough to watch those movies yet. He loses interest.
So you're going to love this then. There is a Ford Explorer from Jurassic Park that's somewhere here in the Houston area.
Really?
And one of the Jeeps is about 5 minutes from my house. Every time I would go to the gym that I used to train at, I would see this Jeep. So it's pretty cool to know that there's little memorabilia. I believe the Explorer may have been an actual movie car. I believe the Jeep was a recreation, but either way, it's still pretty sick. But, just touching quickly into movies here real quick. This summer is going to be a good year for movies, at least in terms of the hype, because you have Jurassic Park. The F1 movie is coming out this week, I believe.
And I saw it today, so.
You saw it today?
Isaac did.
Isaac saw it today, so then I guess it came out on Friday then, apparently.
Yeah.
And then the one I'm kind of looking forward to that at first I was dreading and now I'm looking forward to it, Superman. I am a huge Superman nerd. Christopher Reeves, of course, is everybody's Superman. Henry Cavill was a fantastic Superman, regardless of what people freaking say. So I'm kind of anxiously anticipating how David will do in the role of Superman, but some of the previews are looking good, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, I did watch 28 Years Later.
How was that? I remember the original one. What was that one? 28 Days Later?
Yeah, 28 days later, 28 weeks later, and now 28 years later. Yeah, it was. I was happy to see that I was still shot in the same format as, again, media guy here. It reminds you of the original, the first and the second, the way they shot it. They really didn't deviate too far from like the original, but there's definitely growth, right? Like the movie shows what it looks like 28 years later. So you're gonna see a lot of naked people. That's what I'm saying. And as you think about it, yeah, it's not people changing their clothes; they're in the same clothes, running around, zombies. Yeah, dude, just butt booty naked chasing you. So yeah, pretty cool movie. I think it got like a pretty high score on Rotten Tomatoes too.
Yeah, I saw. I think it was like in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty wild.
And
I have like been
7% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and so
yeah, good movies.
Yeah, lately I've been going back and watching movies with my kids that I liked when I was younger. I had exposed them previously to the Back to the Future movies, which they both ended up loving, which I'm so thankful for because otherwise I would have had to disown them. But recently I found out Lauren had never seen The Matrix, The Terminator, or iRobot. So I'm showing her.
I know this is a car podcast. I'm sure somebody can relate to this. But did you know that the Terminator 1 and 2 at least are prequels to The Matrix? Did you know that?
So this is why I was showing Lauren. So if you talk to James Cameron, he says it's not. There is another person out there who said they were part of the writing team and it was. But there's a fan theory out there. Again, we're getting way off topic, but that's fine because there are no topics. Terminator, iRobot, and both of those are the prequels to The Matrix. So the way it's supposed to go, from what I recall from this fan theory at least, is that the Terminator was how it all started with Skynet, AI, and all that stuff. After Terminator 2, where you look at the end and you see how she stopped it. If you stop at those original two, Sarah Connor saved the day. You see her as an old woman. But people continue to move forward with this, and that's where they create the robots from iRobot. And then that then turns into AI taking over and the robots taking over, which then turns into the Matrix. So that's how all three of those are kind of connected. And that's why Lauren and I started watching those.
Yeah, the writer, it's I forgot her name. It's a female, but she's on a podcast essentially talking about it and how it's like tied to the Bible with like the second coming of Christ and everything. And she breaks it all down. That blew my mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many movies that are tied to real life or where they've gotten their inspiration. Because I mean, if you look at Tolkien and his movies, Lord of the Rings, he was in World War I? He was a soldier in that, and that's where he got his idea for Lord of the Rings and everything that happened there. So again, all of that is kind of wild, but we've very much deviated from our original topic, which was Rallycross. So we're going to bring it back in. One thing that I will say that, you can see me moving maybe a little stiff is because I have had my first true automotive incident where I got injured. Now, I've hit walls and all kinds of things have happened to me before in the drifting world, but I really was never injured. But this last weekend, I was. So I was going around the track. There are sections where it was very bumpy. If you stayed on the right line, you glided over it. But if you deviated slightly off to one side, you would hit some giant ruts. And I ended up hitting one of those giant ruts, which snapped my head to the side and then forward when I hit. And when it snapped forward from the sideways movement, I tried to brace myself, which I shouldn't have done. I should have just loosened up, but I went to the side and then it immediately jolted me forward and I pulled something in my neck. I felt it immediately, dude. It hurt to even try to take my helmet off. It was not great. Adrenaline got pumping. I was able to make it through the rest of the day. But when I got home, it really started to stiffen up. I really couldn't sleep last night. And now I am still very much sore and I got a sharp pain in my neck occasionally. So I'm definitely now looking into more safety around my neck, Hans devices and stuff like that. I know that some people will be like, oh, well, it's not that serious, blah, blah, blah. But one thing that I said to you yesterday was you don't want to not have it and need it. I'd rather have someone think that it looks silly and me go out there and not get hurt than not have it and
end up the way you are now. Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna start wearing my Hans device. I think my first little accident, it wasn't bad. The first one when I slid into Edward, it wasn't too bad because I really didn't feel it again. I was just like, ah, dang, this sucks, dude. My second one where I spun completely around and I saw Isaac's big green Mustang sliding towards me. That's the one where I was like, oh, I should have had. I have a next gen, which is a Hans device. The next gen really allows for those 3-inch belts to sit nice and flat. But yeah, after that day, I was like, I'm totally wearing this thing from now on. Like, no more not wearing it.
Yeah, and so I started researching into them more. Of course, I knew what a Hans device was used for. I've been in racing and around racing for many years now, but I had never really looked that much into them. So for those of you who are listening or watching and don't know what a Hans device is, Hans stands for head and neck safety. So what you're doing is you're trying to limit the amount of movement that your head has in a crash or low impact incident in which you could jolt forward, and you want to make sure that you're protecting that. It all ties into your neck and back, all things that if you watch like F1 or sports like that, you'll notice those guys have thick necks because all the G forces that they go through, and they're still wearing their Hans devices. So you'll have your standard Hans device, which I believe is what you have, which goes over your shoulders and goes around your head, and then your helmet links into that. One thing that's great about that is when you have your 5-point harness, your harness acts as the brace for that. So it goes over your shoulders, weighs down on that U shape or horseshoe shape, and holds it in place. Now, if you're in a 3-point seatbelt like I am when I go rally crossing, or if it's you're just doing out there demos and things like that, you don't have that bracing there on that type of Hans device. So what I am looking at is a hybrid. So the hybrid is almost like a vest that goes on around your back, has an X or some type of padding on the back that braces it all in, clips in the front, and your body works as your stabilization, and then it links your helmet into that the way it does the original one to stop from that movement. So I will be looking at that. Now, for some of you who are thinking, well, you know what, I don't know if I'll need it, and I was online, I was looking at some of them start around $400. Let me tell you this. And a trip to the ER costs a lot more than $400. You know what? Not being able to turn your head back and forth is going to cost you a lot more than $400, especially too if it's severe. So when it comes to safety, do not cheap out. You'll go on eBay and you'll see car parts and all kinds of stuff on there. If it happens to deal with your safety, whether it's the Hans devices, the seat belts, your seat, do not cheap out. That's the one place I will always tell people, do not go cheap on. Go with what's good, go with what's safe and what's rated safe. So that's my preach for the day.
Yeah, I'm looking here, and we're looking at like $300 to $400. And again, you just can't put a price on it because neck pain. Really, also, if you think about it, your life is worth everything. But if you get an injury where you can't move your neck or your hands, now you're putting other people in danger. And it's kind of like when you work out. Like if you get an injury, now you're not working out, and you're actually hindering your progress. So you want to stay in that seat as long as possible. The other thing I always bring up with safety is, man, harnesses are cool, dude. 5-point harnesses, 6-point harnesses, you name it. But you see people street driving with these harnesses, and it's actually super dangerous when you think about your SRS, your airbag system in a regular car, and then you put harnesses in there. That car's factory seatbelt is designed to slightly tear to then let you land into the airbag. That's why when your airbags deploy, you have to replace all the seatbelts as well. The issue with those 5.6 point harnesses, if you do get in an accident, they're not designed to tear. And what happens is the body stops moving, but your head continues to move. And that's where those neck injuries happen. So, really, by wearing harnesses in your street car, you are at more risk of hurting your neck or back by having those harnesses. So I see all these people on social trying to be super cool and super in the know or in the, like what's trending. But I'm like, man, that's dangerous. I'm not saying you're going to do something stupid, but if somebody hits you, again, the body's going to stay and not move, and the head is going to continue to move. That's why that Hans device is designed to clip into your helmet and be strapped down with those harnesses, because it just keeps everything nice and steady. So every time I see these people driving with harnesses on the street, I'm like, buddy.
The same thing
Tornadoes.
too with a roll cage, because a lot of people will go and put a roll cage in either to look cool or what have you. But the thing with that is you'll hit your head on that thing, you're done, dude.
Done. I remember I was with this young man down at Lone Star Drift, bro. It's on YouTube, and we were in his 50 Mustang. Austin Zier was his name. Bro, it's on like TikTok too, but I was recording with my phone, and the car in front of us overrode. He was able to stop the car right before hitting it. It was a Corvette, an orange Corvette. But the guy next to him came hauling and slammed into the Mustang, and then we slammed into the Corvette. And I was wearing a helmet, and my head hit that side of the roll cage. All I remember was seeing white. And I'm in a helmet, full padding. This is a correct helmet. And I remember hitting that, and I was just like, and it was padded too. It wasn't just a raw cage. We hit so hard that I remember I just saw the flash, and I was like, dude, it was like the cartoons when they get hit, they see all the stars like in Tom and Jerry. That's what I remember. And he was like, "Are you good?" I was like, "No, yeah, I'm good." I was like, "But I definitely, got my lights knocked out." I remember seeing that. So yeah, cage and no helmet.
Yeah, no, not going to happen. And you know what? Little things too have made a big difference for me. When I originally started drifting and any type of motorsport, I would use motorcycle helmets. Now I've transitioned into something that's built for motorsport. And I went from having just a standard helmet that was more affordable to I got a pretty good deal thanks to some friends over at Simpson, where I got a fully carbon fiber helmet. You see my helmet. I absolutely love this thing. And I will tell you this, the difference in weight from a carbon fiber helmet to a standard helmet, you really notice, especially too, considering that is sitting on your head. And when you're dealing with the movements around, you notice that your head stays a little bit more stable than what it does with the other one. And then it's just not as much weight just sitting there on your head all day long, because when you're doing a long event and that helmet is on there, you just really start feeling it. So again, when it comes to safety, make sure that you're comfortable and that it is truly safe. This is the one area that you can go hog wild and spend a good amount of money on, but you'll never regret it. You're absolutely never regret it.
Yeah, one thing I'm trying to get more comfortable doing is actually wearing my gloves when I drive. No glove, no love, baby. But like, I do feel better with no gloves when I'm driving, and I know it's the wrong answer. So again, I got a family to come home to. I don't want to get hurt, and these are the best tools you can have. So I'm going to start using my gloves when I drive out there as well.
So I use a set of gloves that I got from RTR. They were designed to be mechanics gloves, but they have a nice felt to the palm, and they work really good with this. Huh?
Are those the ones you gave me at SEMA too to work?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, those are great.
Oh, yeah, they work great. They work good in the Corolla. And then when you look at the RTR Spec 5, since I have the GT350R steering wheel in there, they grip onto that suede really, really nice. And I always feel like I have control over everything that I'm doing. I have noticed that I believe it was Alpine Star now does a low wrist glove that is fire retardant. Because I'm not just... I don't like the long wrist, like when you have the glove that goes halfway up your forearm. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I do understand the benefit of it, if you're in a full fire suit or what have you, or just looking for safety.
Yeah, and the other side of that too is like when I got my helmet, gloves, and race suit, it was like a sale over at Winding Road Racing. I think they were moving locations. And when I got to the gloves, I'm like, oh, just gloves. You're kind of just picking a brand, right? No, dude. Like you get into stitching, reverse stitching, like feeling the stitching underneath your fingernails, and I was like, no, I need to go ahead and get the. I didn't realize how much something like that would bother me, and that's where they get you in those prices. But because everything was like 70% off at the time, like a regular pair of gloves was like, let's say $100, and then the reverse stitching was 200. But in this case, the reverse stitch gloves were $100. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm just getting the nice stuff. So, and the same thing with your suits. Once you get into race suits, them cheap ones are heavy, bro. They are like fireman suits. So again, I was able to get myself a nice Alpine Star suit, a lightweight one for not that much money. So I would say if you are getting into the safety realm, look for a sale.
Oh, 100%. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's all fun. You get to, color, change up your colors, make it your own, make it your own style. Remember, you're a brand. Find something that's going to go good with you, with your car, what have you. I mean, I love the suits that come out of RTR from Alpine Stars. I like Ben's suit. He's got a killer suit. I like Vaughn's. I remember when he had the galactic feel to it. It's kind of neat. You can customize them. But, when you're starting out at the grassroots like we are, there's plenty of places that sell these suits that you can get them. They come in different colors or what have you, but just go with what's safe and then build out your brand. And once you start getting a little bit of that cheddar in your pocket, or as J. Cole Photo likes to call it, that Skrilla, then you can start spending a little bit more money. Oh, yeah, dude. This guy, I don't know where he comes up with half the stuff that he says, but he is one of the whitest dudes that I know that, but he's got a flavor to him that's a little bit blacker than I am. But, I ain't going to hate. Dude's making his own. He's got one of the biggest club followings of anyone, Mustang Fan Club. He created that, dude. That's his brainchild. So I mean, dude's making it big. He's doing better than I am at getting people to follow me. So hats off to J. Cole Photo.
Yeah, Mustang Fan Club is a really good page. It's so funny because, looking back, man, when I was stationed in Afghanistan, I started this Pontiac page because I had two GTPs, two Grand Prix, the supercharged ones, and I was like really big into them. Really nerdy about these cars, but then I started expanding the page into G8, GTO, pretty much like anything LS based, which is wild, bro, because I didn't think in 2011, 2012 that Facebook pages would become so big and popular. But what was killing me was that I was overseas and I couldn't get like photos or videos of like builds or anything like that. We're talking about a year long. So I added a page admin. His name was Brandon Heston. We're still friends to this day. We met because of this Grand Prix page that I created. And eventually I let it die and it was catching some serious steam. I remember by the time I got back stateside and I had cammed, ported blower, full exhaust, long tubes on my GTP coupe, like the page was really catching steam. But then I switched over to a V8, which was the Dodge, the SRT Charger. And like I was like, yo, why am I messing with 6 cylinders? This thing rips. And I let the Grand Prix page die. But yeah, that's kind of what happened. So to see someone who took like that Mustang page and like really took it that far, like early adopter, he made it happen.
Yeah, and you know what? Just thinking about all the stuff that he has done, as we start to move forward here, we're going to add guest stars to this. We're going to interview some people. I've already had some people reach out to me. I know, BGT, you got some people that would like to be on the podcast as well. I think that Jaron would be a great one to have on here, especially too, because he is our marketing manager over at RTR. He is the brand manager. This dude understands media like no other. So he'd be a great person to have. And you know what? Anybody who's listening right now to this podcast, if you're here on YouTube, go ahead and drop a comment down below of someone that you think we may know or someone that you think we should know that we should bring on here and interview, because I'd like to start bringing some other people in here in the future and kind of get their taste of the layout here in the media world, because you know what, it's growing so fast and there's so many different facets that we get to see that there's always another angle to it and something that someone else is doing that could help people out there that are trying to figure out how to navigate all of this.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. The media side is humongous. And like you said, so many different facets. This past weekend, I was putting some bead locks and really big tires on my Ram Charger. And a good friend of ours, Jesse, was helping out, and he does a lot of car stuff. Porsche, he loves Porsches. You two would go ape talking about Porsches, Corvettes, Mustangs, you name it. But he really cut his teeth on building classic Broncos. So that old school, called a vintage off-roader, off-road, anything off-road, he really knows a lot about. And not that I was doubting him or anything, but we were looking at my truck, and I was like, bro, so you're telling me all I gotta do is put some 1-ton axles on this thing from like a Ford or something? And he was like, I mean, it's not that simple. You need to. And he just started spitting all this knowledge that I looked at him and I said, don't worry about it. Let's just put some wheel adapters on this thing and put some 8 lugs on it. It's way easier than what I thought swapping axles would be. But yeah, and I got really sucked in. I was like, wow, you know what? Like, I know about off road and 4x4, but like, there's people out there, these King of the Hammers people, right? You know, Lauren Healy, they go out there and they do all that kind of racing. That is a whole different realm of motorsport and vehicle. And that got me this weekend thinking like, man, do I need to build an off-road rig? Probably not, but I want to learn more about it.
You know, I don't know if you know this about Lauren, but he was a person who liked to play around out in the dirt and try some stuff. He had somebody introduce him to the off-road racing world. He went out and drove a little bit and got the bug. Went out, entered Hammers, and won his class the first time out. Wow. So yes. So basically, Lauren Healy was the early version of Jordan Wheeler. And I mean, look at the guy now, dude. He's out there really doing it. He's got that Ford sponsorship. He's partnered with RTR Vehicles. He's helped so much in the development of the Bronco racing program out there, along with Vaughn. It's insane. So there's some people out there that just have a knack for this, and they know so much. I remember working around Chelsea DeNova. The things that man knows about suspension and understands there just blows my mind. Things that I never even would have thought of that this man just knows off the rip.
Yeah, I don't want to get to that point. What's crazy is when it comes to these things right back here, these Challengers, people are still hitting me up for car setup. If there's one car I really know about, it's that one. And now I'm really getting down to the nitty gritty on this S197. Part of me feels like I should really start getting into 550, 650, but it's just really like a barrier to entry in terms of price. But I know that that's going to come. And I'm still learning about this S197, and I want to know everything about it. And that's my problem. Once I get addicted to something, I have to know how it all works. Hello? What's going on? I'll keep talking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm kind of getting that way with the GR Corolla as well. I've noticed, and even when I was out at Rally Ready with you, they were letting me know, hey, you know, there's a cage kit out there for the Corolla now that we can get and put in there. And now somebody has developed a WRC body kit for the vehicle as well.
Really?
And yes, I have seen the renders of this thing. It looks pretty freaking sick. Dude, I know I'm going to go down this rabbit hole and end up doing all this stuff. Because here's what I'm thinking, dude. And this is where my mind goes is find a car that I can have fun with and still rallycross, but just really start building a rally car. And everyone keeps telling me, if you're going to get into rally, buy a car that has already been used. But my thing is, I'm not just a random person that's jumping into it that doesn't know whether or not I'll like it. I think that I want to keep furthering what I'm doing with this GR platform, and nobody else has one out there. So I think it's just the rabbit hole we got to go down, man.
It's okay. So I told you this when you first got the car. I said, first to market, bro. Like, it's going to suck in the beginning. And it did with this car because nobody made a damn thing for it. And I had to really figure it out. And it was there towards the end that companies actually started coming out with parts. And because I had been looking for somebody to make these parts, I jumped on them sooner than later. And then I was able to really test them out and also make the car do the things I wanted it to do. And then people thought it was magical. But that is probably the hardest part of, here we go. That is probably the hardest part of getting into a new platform is like the patience of waiting to get these parts. But once they do come out, oh, dude, that's sick.
Yeah, is that not sick, dude?
And here's the best part, dude. You've already smashed the front bumper.
You ain't lying, dog. And that's got a replacement on there, so we're good.
No, yeah, that's freaking sick, dude. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's probably going to be the
I'm
route
a
I
huge
end up
fan of the
going.
car. I'm a huge fan of the cars. You know, I'm for it. That's the other thing is like when you're a fan of the thing you're building, like these S197s, I'm in love with them, so I want to keep building them.
So here's an awesome story from this weekend rally crossing. There was a guy who came out, the last one that I did a month and a half ago, almost 2 months now. His name was Chris. He was out there to check it out. He had saw online that there was rally crossing in the Houston area. He had never done anything like that. He does track days in his, I believe it's a Z06 Corvette, and he likes motorsports, but he never saw this side of things. So he came out to the event just to check it out. While he was there, he came up to me and asked if he could hop in my car and go for a ride. I took him out there. He had so much fun. I took him out there for a couple laps. After he got done, he thanked me, said it was so good, told me I was a great driver, which kind of humbled me. And I was like, thank you very much, dude. Hopefully I'll see you out here again. He was considering being a part of this. He showed up this last weekend with a WRX that he had bought off of Facebook for cash, and him and his wife came out there and split duties in that car to have fun with it. And he had his kids out there. He has a bunch of daughters. Excuse me, nose itched. He had a few daughters, and one of them brought their boyfriend out. I asked the boyfriend if he wanted to hop in and go for a ride in the car. As we're sitting there in line ready to go, he said to me, dude, thank you so much for letting me ride in here. After the last time Chris was out here, he could not stop talking about rallycross and specifically you and this car. And when he got his car, he was so excited to come out here and start driving with you. So, you know, we talk about how we want to expand grassroots, expose more people to things and let them know that they can come out here and do this. And that was just such a humbling moment for me. And it put a smile on my face. Now, I don't think that I'm a top driver. I don't think that I'm any hot shit. But the fact that that ride that I gave Chris made him make up his mind that, yeah, I want to give this a try and go home and tell his friends and his family about this is really cool, dude. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's what's really cool. Do you do you remember the last Drift event where I told there was autocross going on right where we check in for Dreamers Adrift, and I pull up in the Mustang and there's a green Hellcat Challenger narrow body next to me, and the guy waved at me, and you were like, "Oh yeah, Mister, everybody knows you." Then the dude messages me on Facebook, and he was like, "I thought you were coming to autocross with us," and I felt so bad because I didn't recognize him at first, and I was like, "Oh my god, how could I forget this guy?" But again, all these people that I met that now autocross their challengers were because in the beginning it was like me and two other people, and now that community has grown. You know, there's so many people in it now, but in the beginning there was like five of us. But it was funny because then he messaged me, and I was like, okay, I did end up knowing him.
Yeah, dude, it's cool to see that and see how something that you did that you thought was just fun for you gives people inspiration for their own projects. I've seen other people come out with their GRs and start rally crossing because they've seen me on Facebook doing it or my YouTube channel, and it makes them say, dude, my car can do that and it's going to hold up and I don't have to worry about wrecking it as long as you're, minding what you're doing and not doing any stupid shit. You're not going to wreck it. I put wrong tires on. It happens. Everybody has a bad day. Don't worry about
No,
it. You're not
yeah,
going to
we
be
all
me.
have bad days. We all have bad days.
Yeah, but that's cool to see that is something that we help spurn. That is something that we said, you know what, get out there and do it, and people actually did it. So the momentum is there. We got to just keep carrying it on, because again, grassroots is where everything starts, and we need to make sure that we continue it.
Yeah, my biggest regret is that I did start designing a billet angle kit for the Mopars because the suspension is based off a W211 Mercedes Benz. So mostly everything underneath those cars is Mercedes Benz. So I started looking for those angle kits, and they don't exist either. So I started designing it, and then I did design half of it for the most part. Anyways, it would work, but it wasn't the best. And the problem was that this is really expensive. It would be easier for me to get the Mustang like I did and then buy the off the shelf parts because my goal was seat time, not so much like expand an industry. Somebody out there in California, his name is Hello M. Jensen. Really, really cool dude. Spoken to him a lot. He designed an angle kit for Mopars. And I'm like, here we are, dude. You can buy a cheap Challenger RT, throw an angle kit on it. It's already a manual and you can go drift these big body Mopars that everybody said was impossible. But again, it would have been another wave, especially because I started on it before Jensen did. But he was able to execute it with another really good company, AAD Performance. So they made it way better than what I had imagining in my head.
Does anybody know what it was that Hubinet did with his cars? Because I know he drifted Dodge early on. He had the Viper that he went to what was called the drift limo with the Charger, and then he went over to a Challenger for one season before going back to the Viper.
So I met the kid who actually bought the FD Charger from Hubinet. It was sitting in a shipping container, and he was able to pick that car up, and he bought it. His name is Gushibird on social media. And when I found that, I hit him up, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be at We Are Mopar." This is back when I had the TRX. I said, "Hey, man, is it cool if I like look at the car?" Because I was already planning on doing that with this Challenger. And we ended up linking up, and I was able to take all the measurements off of Samuel Hubinet's car. That's where my starting point was, and that's the part that started everything. As I was looking at it, I was like, these are SRT spindles, this is that. And he literally let me go in there and measure everything from center of Heim to the spindle. And that's how I got my measurements. And RMS is the one that Milo came to the house, took some more measurements, and then we 3D printed arms and Heims and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that car was very impressive to see it up close. The whole thing is carbon fiber.
Awesome. Yeah, that car was so sick for the time. And I remember I remember when he first brought those cars out, I was like, holy crap. I mean, cars back then were a little bit different. Vaughn was starting in the Mustang, I think a year after or around the time of the first one. But when you look at the other cars in the field, I mean, you had S2000s, 350Zs, S14s, and 13s. And I believe his biggest rival at the time was Reese Millen, who was driving around in a Pontiac Solstice. So you put those types of cars next to a Charger or Challenger. Oh my God, that car looked gigantic, dude.
Dude, yes. And somebody brought out a GTO. I don't know who that was.
It was Reese. So
Okay.
Reese Millen had a GTO the first couple of years, and then moved over into the Solstice.
Yeah. I vaguely remember that stuff. But you look at again seeing that car in person, and you think about the year that it came out. It was very like advanced, especially for those beginning years of FD. That car was advanced as hell. When I saw it in person, I was like, this is not what I kind of thought. You see it in pictures, but then you see it in person. They put some effort behind it.
For sure. And Sam likes trying new stuff and inventing new things. He had the drift Huracan. He did that before guys like DDE were trying to make exotics drift. And then who else had a Murcielago? Oh, Daigo Saito had a Murcielago. So it's cool to see people out there trying that. Yeah, there is a video out there for Monster Energy. If you look it up, Daigo Saito versus Vaughn Gittin Jr. It's Vaughn over in Japan with his Mustang drifting alongside Daigo in that Murcielago. It's so sick. It's such a cool video.
Yeah. That's when you said Murcielago. I was like, I've seen this, and it's the video with Vaughn from Monster Energy. Dude, do you remember? Speaking of crazy cars, Mad Mike Woodette. I think we've spoken about that last crazy car that he did.
Yeah, I've met Mad Mike. Yeah, he's good friends with Vaughn. I saw him at the last SEMA.
Yeah, he definitely owns his name with that McLaren.
that thing is insane and sounds even more insane.
Okay, so now that we're talking about crazy drift builds on the podcast, today I was at the gymnasium doing some cardio, and I saw my tube of views Adam LZ big block BMW, a big block.
Yeah, he's been working on that for a little bit. That dude has been trying a bunch of different things. He had started that a few months back, wanting to be the first one to do that. I was thinking he was going to bring his four rotor, I believe it's a four rotor Supra out and start drifting that, but it looks like he's going to be doing that BMW up something big.
That I mean, headphone users beware is all I'm going to tell you in that video. And I don't really sit down and watch videos. I'm the one to hit like fast forward to all the juicy parts. I did listen to all the tuning things they were talking about, and yeah, dude, it's insane. Like at idle, like they cracked it a little bit, hit like 700 pound-feet of torque when they were getting ready to tune it. I was like, wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, people can say what they want about Adam. You know, there's mixed reviews, but he is always trying to do cool new shit with his vehicles. And I think this is going to be pretty freaking wild. Because, I mean, I don't recall of any BMW as of yet that's been able to push the kind of power that the top guys have been out of their vehicles. I mean, you look at RTR is pushing over 1,300 horsepower out of those freaking Mustangs, you know? So on a big track, RTR walks away from other people. You know what I'm saying? Whereas other people have to shallow up their angle. You throw over 1,000 horsepower at this BMW, you know, you're really going to be ripping. I think most of the BMWs that are in FD, they might be like just shy of 1,000. But yeah, it's going to be nuts.
It's going to be absolutely nuts. And then back to that point of, hey, in grassroots, you know, you drive harder, the next guy drives harder, or gal, the next guy or gal, and everyone starts to elevate. You kind of saw the same thing in FD, right? You look back those glory days in the beginning to where it is now, and then now we're seeing this big block V8 car come out. Now, what's everybody else forced to do? What's everyone else going to do? Are we going to start seeing like 2,000 horsepower drift cars? Is that on the horizon?
So I believe it's Chelsea, and I know there's a few other drivers that have brought this up as well. I believe Forsberg has been one of them, but starting to regulate the power that comes out of these vehicles, that or putting a tire rule into place similar to what you guys have in Dreamers to stop people from going wild. And part of me kind of agrees with it and can kind of see that, because if you look at the early days, you had cars out there with 600, 700 horsepower. It's like, yeah, this guy is really going to burn it down. Granted, the level of driving has advanced quite a bit since then as well. But the other thing is you could go back and look at the early days. Vaughn was one of these guys where you were self-made, paved your way for yourself out there without any crazy big sponsors, and you were able to really get into FD. I heard Jared saying the other day that FD is one of the only sports where you can really, if you're good, it's plausible to make it to the pros in 3 years. You go out, you win a pro-am, get your license next year, you do pro spec, you win that, next year you're in pro. Nowhere else can you do that. However, the cost to do that is insane. And if now you're chasing down big people like RTR, where you have the money to build a almost $500,000 car, it's hard to compete with that and really challenge for the title. Even if you look at LZ, you know, people may think he's small compared to a company like RTR Vehicles or even Papadakis Racing, but Adam's got some money to back behind his stuff from, you know, LZ, MFG, as well as Drift HQ. So, I mean, if you're looking at someone like him and thinking that he doesn't have what it takes to compete at that level, one, you're wrong. But two, it's like, wow, how can the average person do it? So unless you start putting some type of regulation on that, there's always going to be that team that just walks away from everybody else.
Yeah, that is very true. I remember hearing that about the tire rule. I do remember, I want to say like 2018, 2019, somewhere in there. I do remember a lot of the cars breaking, and Forsberg did say, like, quit chasing all these giant horsepower numbers. This isn't making a good show for even our spectators, because everybody kept breaking. It was breakdown after breakdown after breakdown, and it was when we really started seeing like that 1,000 plus, you know, 900 to 1,200 horsepower range. And he brought it up like, you guys are chasing all this giant horsepower, but it's making for worse events.
Yeah, and if you look at the way that they do qualifying now, knockout qualifying, it makes for a more interesting sport because
Yeah.
now you don't have a bunch of guys doing solo runs out there, which are just kind of like okay to begin with. But you know, if they break in that, then it's like, oh, great, now we don't have a person in it. With knockout qualifying, at least you're going to see some head-to-head action before that car breaks, and then hopefully by the next day they can just go ahead and hop back in there and have something to at least attempt to make the run.
Just speaking of knockout qualifying, dude, Colette Davis is taking a beating in her prospect year.
You know what? I have not really been following Prospect too closely, but I did see that. I saw her up on a wall.
Yeah, Atlanta, bam, hit in the wall, and then here, she got hit again, and I'm like, man, how many times she got to rebuild this car, bro?
Yeah, I actually thought after Englishtown that the boys out there were after the girls because I mean, you know, we had one rollover, we had one wall ride. It's like,
Oh my
hey,
god, yeah,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ! And then Amanda's oh, well, it was Amanda's brother, Amanda Sorensen's brother. His car broke before they could go out there up against each other.
Oh, dang, that would have been sweet to watch.
Yeah, and they were looking forward to that too because it was the first time a brother and sister would have faced each other. And Amanda was saying that she thought it would have been her and Brandon first, but it was her and her younger brother, who I believe is also like 15 or 16, actually.
Yeah, yeah, another young driver. That's crazy, dude. And them three kids bust ass to be where they're at. That's for sure.
Yeah, those two have done really great now, three, and they compete in a lot of other sports outside of that. I know Amanda does off road racing, if I'm not mistaken. And then I just saw recently that she is signed with Rockstar Energy.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Rockstar Energy. I'm pretty sure she was part of Nitro Rallycross. I feel like.
Was
I may be
she?
tripping.
I thought Leah was, but I didn't know about Amanda. Maybe she was. I don't know. We'll fact check it. We'll find out.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the motorsports world when you start getting to that level. I did start watching that Netflix series for the female F1 drivers that Leah Block is in.
Yeah, how is that? I haven't watched that yet.
It's good, man. It's right. It's right on par with Drive to Survive in the way that they filmed it. I've only watched episode one. I really haven't watched TV since then. I saw 28 years later. That was it. But it's on par with Drive to Survive.
So if people out there that are watching right now or listening are into rally, I would say hop over to the Subaru YouTube channel. They got a really good series that follows Travis Pastrana and some of their other drivers. It's really cool to see the behind the scenes and what all goes into running an ARA rally team. And I've really enjoyed it. Another one that's kind of fun to do is Rockstar has their own series that follows around both Ryan Turk and Osbo. So it's kind of cool to see that as well. So a few good YouTube channels out there that show you the behind the scenes and what goes into all of that. And if you're thinking about going pro, know that it's going to be a headache.
What's the series called for Subaru?
Dude, you're putting me on the spot and I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's right there on the Subaru YouTube channel.
Okay, is it Subaru Global TV?
No, it's just Subaru.
Okay. Oh, no, that's not it. That's Rally School. I'll find it. I want to watch it. Subaru has more than one channel, FYI. We'll link it down below.
Hold on. I'll cut this out because now I want to find it.
Yeah, I can't find it. Yeah, the first channel that pops up is Subaru Global TV.
Yeah, so if you do want to watch that, it's on the actual just Subaru YouTube channel. Look it up at Subaru, and you can follow along. It's on there. They do little episodes there. It's under Subaru Motorsports USA, and they'll follow along these guys. I'm looking at it right now. I mean, they did the Oregon Trail Rally from this year. Their most recent one is Southern Ohio Forest. They did that. And then one of them that I watched earlier this year was Scott Speed over at the Festival of Speed, and that was kind of neat to see all of that stuff and some of the development of these rally cars, or just to see with some of the prototypes what they try. So that is worth a watch for sure.
You said Subaru USA?
Bro, you don't listen. It's at Subaru, and then if you look
at Subaru, bam, videos. Southern Ohio.
Yeah, so definitely give that a watch. If you go over to Rockstar Energy, you go underneath their playlist, you'll find the one that follows around Osbo as well as Turk. That's going to be under Controlled Chaos. So both of those are definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I want to check out the Rallycross ones. Definitely want to check that out. At what point do you move? It's my last question of the night, I promise. At what point do you move from like SCCA Rallycross? Like, what's the next level for you?
For me, it would be doing some of the not rally crosses, but some of the rallies over at Rally Ready, and then start preparing for ARA, the American Rally Association. So then that's when you're going to start doing like the Oregon Trail and 100 Acre Woods and all of that stuff. I have said that I would like to do at least one ARA race, and that would be 100 Acre Woods if I could do any of them, because it's so freaking cool. They got an area there. When you watch the Subaru channel, they have a video where they do it at 100 Acre Woods, and the night runs are insane. There's a whole alley where just people have bonfires up in the night, and you're cruising through the woods, and it's just lit up like the 4th of July. It's absolutely insane. I think that'd be fun. And that's one of those two where I don't have to go and do any crazy wild training. I can go out there with my, let's say we're going to go ahead and go out there with the Corolla GR. We can go out there and compete against people like the Subaru team. The only thing that would separate me from them is if I add like a sequential gearbox to my car, then I automatically get put up there and I'm going up against like Travis Pastrana. So it's pretty cool. There's all different levels to it. I'm not going straight to the top. I just want to go out there, have fun. There actually is a guy who races in the ARA a S197 Mustang. I believe it's a 2011. I've seen the photos of that thing jumping. It's wild.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yep, so there's a space out there for you as well.
Yeah, when you're done drifting, all you gotta do is lift it. I mean, you never know. There was talks about a group purchase for 6-cylinder Mustangs and to make them rally cars to just thrash on at rally.
Yeah, I would totally be down. I've looked at doing it with a Fox body. I think that would be pretty cool because I've actually looked up a Fox body Mustang weighs less than a Focus ST or RS. So, I mean, it's doable, dude. Very doable.
We're talking about grabbing like 5 or 6 of them, all automatic. Just lift them. Some general tires on there, some nice wheels, and then just have its own like series of racing, the Mustang Rally Cup or something like that. And it's just literally all 6 cylinders. They're all the same. You just got to go out there and run it.
Dude, if they do that, I am down. I will be one of the first people to sign up. Let me at it. I don't care.
Yeah, you can find a 6-cylinder S197 automatic for like $700. I've already looked.
Oh, yeah, cheap as shit, dude. Absolutely. You can get one of those way cheaper than you can get a freaking Fox body.
Yeah, that's where the whole idea came out of. So, I mean, I think you would spend more money on safety equipment and probably the lift and tires than you spend on the car.
Yeah, 100%. At that point, it's almost like a Lemon's car. You know what I'm saying?
So, I don't know. We'll see what the future holds. Always trying to come up with ideas to have fun. Would like to see you in some of these rally sprints. I did pull it up. They got 4 events a year. The next one is Lost Pines, October 25th at Rally Ready. So maybe we'll go out there and take a look and see what the future holds for J-Dub.
Absolutely. That is the trajectory that I am on. You know, you're going to be heading to FD. I'll be going out there to ARA, and we'll see where it goes from there, man. But as for today's podcast, where that is going, to the finish line, folks, we have reached the end of today's podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I can't speak highly enough of the support that we get from the few of you that do listen. And I thank you much in the same way that BGT and I are trying to make sure that grassroots motorsport stays alive and there's more recognition to the smaller venues that maybe you guys haven't heard of or smaller events that you guys haven't heard of. Make sure that you guys do the same for us. Spread the word about the Grassroots Self-Service Garage YouTube channel. Oh, wait, sorry. I'm promoting the wrong things. Make sure that you let people know about Weekend Media. Hop over, watch Tirado Racing, as well as J-Dub Racing. Follow us on all of our socials. Until the next one, My co-host right here, Mr. BGT, Brian Garcia Tirado. I am Jordan Wheeler. See you on the next one.
Peace.